September 21st, 2025 was supposed to be another ordinary night in Moscow, until just before midnight. Explosions shattered the calm, echoing across the city and jolting residents awake. Air defense systems fired into the sky, desperately intercepting a wave of incoming drones. For years, Muscovites watched the war in Ukraine from a distance. Now, it was at their doorstep. Cell phone videos captured flashes in the sky and the menacing shapes of drones, quickly shared before sensors could react. Debris rained down on residential areas, shattering windows and damaging cars, though initial reports said there were no serious injuries. The psychological impact was immediate. The illusion of safety was gone. The next morning, state TV downplayed the attack, but real conversations happened in kitchens and on encrypted apps. The questions on everyone's mind: how did this happen? Will it happen again? Is this the new reality? The drone attacks are just the most visible sign of a deeper crisis gripping Moscow. Fuel shortages have returned to the capital, with long lines at gas stations and tankers diverted to the front lines. Farmers can't harvest crops, truck drivers face delays, and store shelves are increasingly bare. Even basic medications and electronics are hard to find, as sanctions and the war effort drain resources and workers. The confident swagger of Moscow has been replaced by nervous tension. People worry about their jobs, their savings, and now, their safety. The war is no longer distant. It's a daily struggle, felt in every aspect of life. Anxiety hangs over the city, as the cost of war seeps into every home. Moscow is under siege, not by armies, but by shortages, fear, and uncertainty. The city holds its breath, waiting for what comes next. Drones may bring war to Moscow's skies, but the true battle is being waged in the shadows, far from the sound of explosions. The city's skyline, once a symbol of progress, now stands under a new kind of threat, one that is silent, relentless, and all-encompassing. While the world watches the skies, sanctions are the real siege, tightening their grip on daily life and slowly suffocating the city's pulse. Western restrictions have crippled Russia's aviation sector. Airlines are barred from Western airspace, and international connections are severed almost overnight. Spare parts, once easily imported, are now impossible to get, leaving maintenance crews scrambling to keep aging fleets operational. Russian carriers are forced to cannibalize their own fleets, stripping grounded planes for parts just to keep a handful flying, a dangerous and unsustainable practice that puts safety at risk. International travel has become a luxury for the few, with convoluted routes, endless paperwork, and sky-high prices, making it nearly impossible for ordinary Russians to leave the country. Even domestic flights are fewer and farther between, as airlines struggle to maintain schedules with dwindling resources. Ticket prices soar, routes are slashed, and the vast country grows more isolated with each passing week, leaving millions cut off from family, work, and opportunity. The sanctions don't just punish the government. They erode the very systems that make modern life possible, from transportation to food supply. Russia's forced technological regression is stark: empty skies, aging planes, and growing risks for everyone who depends on these fragile systems. The country is more isolated than at any time since the Cold War, its borders tightening as the outside world grows more distant. The slow poison of sanctions is taking its toll, draining hope from business owners, families, and entire communities. The effects are now impossible to ignore, as anxiety and uncertainty become part of daily life for millions. The siege is not just physical, but economic and technological, undermining the foundations of a modern society. Moscow's isolation grows with every passing day as the city adapts to a new reality, one defined by scarcity, uncertainty, and a future that feels more closed off than ever before. As crises mount, the Kremlin made a rare move, publicly asking the West for sanctions relief. Russian diplomats requested the unfreezing of central bank assets and easing of oil and gas restrictions, claiming it was vital for global stability. The timing was telling. Fuel shortages, drone attacks, and economic decay were reaching a breaking point. The Kremlin gambled that the West might be ready for détente, but Western leaders swiftly rejected the plea, insisting sanctions would remain until Russia withdrew from Ukraine and paid reparations. Experts called the request a desperate attempt to keep the war machine running. The failed gamble exposed the Kremlin's weakness and deepened its isolation. By asking for relief without concessions, Russia revealed just how much the pressure was biting. The economic screws tightened further, leaving Moscow to face its crises alone. The plea for relief became a public admission of vulnerability. Moscow isn't Leningrad in 1941. There are no armies at the gates, no tanks rumbling down the boulevards, but the city is under siege all the same. The threat is not visible on the horizon, but it is felt in every corner of daily life. Drones, sanctions, and information warfare have replaced blockades and artillery. The weapons of this siege are silent, digital, and economic, striking at the heart of the city's infrastructure and morale. The threat is invisible. A drone in the night sky, a medication missing from the pharmacy shelf, a credit card declined at the register. Each moment, the siege tightens in ways that are hard to see but impossible to ignore. Anxiety is constant, as the enemy is now embedded in the systems and networks that once connected Russia to the world. The very technology that brought progress now carries risk and uncertainty. Technology enforces the siege. Drones strike deep into the city, and financial networks isolate the economy. Banks close, ATMs run dry, and the sense of normalcy slips further away with each passing day. Yet technology also keeps the city from total isolation. VPNs and encrypted apps let information trickle in, allowing Muscovites to glimpse the outside world and stay connected, if only in fragments. Muscovites see the world's reaction and understand why life is getting harder. They watch, read, and listen, piecing together the reasons behind their new reality, even as the truth is filtered and incomplete. This partial access to information prevents total control, but also fuels helplessness. People know just enough to worry, but not enough to act, caught between hope and despair. The siege is psychological as much as physical. Fear and uncertainty seep into daily routines, changing how people think, feel, and interact with one another. People are aware of their isolation, but powerless to change it. The city feels smaller, the world more distant, and the future more uncertain than ever before. The 21st century siege is defined by uncertainty and fear, a battle fought not with guns and bombs, but with information, technology, and the invisible weight of anxiety. Behind the headlines and beyond the official statements, it is the ordinary Muscovites who quietly bear the brunt of this deepening crisis. Every day, the city streets are filled with people carrying invisible burdens, their faces marked by uncertainty and worry as they navigate a world that feels less familiar with each passing week. Take Anya, for example. She was once a well-paid software developer for a German firm, enjoying a sense of stability and pride in her work. But after sanctions hit, she lost her job and now works for half the pay, building inferior domestic software that barely meets her standards. The future she once envisioned has faded, replaced by daily struggles and a constant search for new opportunities. Mikhail, a pensioner, faces a different but equally harsh reality. He can no longer get his trusted Swiss heart medication and now relies on a less effective Russian generic, living in fear of shortages and the uncertainty of his own health. Each trip to the pharmacy is a gamble, and every pill is a reminder of what's been lost. Pharmacies across the city struggle to stock even the most basic essentials, and black market drugs are sold at exorbitant prices, putting life-saving treatments out of reach for many. Inside homes, families are divided by propaganda and conflicting worldviews. Young people, exposed to outside information, see a war of aggression, while their elders, shaped by years of state media, believe the official narrative. The gap between generations grows wider with every news broadcast. Arguments over dinner tables are no longer rare. They are tearing at the social fabric, turning once close families into battlegrounds of ideology and fear. For families with sons of military age, every knock on the door brings a fresh wave of terror. The fear of conscription is ever present, casting a shadow over even the most ordinary moments at home. Many young men have fled the country or gone into hiding, hollowing out a generation and leaving behind empty beds, broken friendships, and unanswered questions. The war's human cost is a growing, silent debt, one that is paid in grief, in loss, and in the quiet mourning of communities across the city. Daily life has become a series of small losses and constant anxiety. Prices rise, wages fall, and the sense of security that once defined Moscow is slipping away. The true cost of war is measured not just in numbers, but in broken lives and fractured communities. Stories from the streets that rarely make the headlines, but define the reality for millions. The September 21st drone attack didn't just shake nerves. It nearly caused disaster in the skies. As drones approached, Moscow's airspace was shut down, grounding flights and forcing dozens of planes to divert. Aeroflot 1421, en route from Sochi, was sent to an overwhelmed airport in Nizhny Novgorod, circling for nearly an hour. With GPS jamming and crowded skies, the risk of collision soared. Pilots relied on outdated navigation, and air traffic controllers scrambled to prevent catastrophe. The ordeal ended safely, but passengers were left shaken. The incident exposed the fragility of Russia's aviation system: aging planes, overworked crews, and constant disruptions. Even flying home is now a gamble. The skies over Moscow are another front line in a war with no safe haven. The Kremlin's main response to crisis is control of information, not solutions. New laws criminalize any reporting that contradicts the official line, silencing journalists and citizens alike. State TV is a constant stream of propaganda, ignoring or downplaying the war's costs. The space for free expression has vanished, replaced by fear and suspicion. Yet reality seeps through. Empty shelves, lost jobs, and the sound of explosions can't be hidden. The gap between propaganda and daily life grows wider. The wall of silence is cracking as lived experience outpaces the official narrative. The Kremlin's grip is strong, but not unbreakable. For years, Putin projected calm control, a leader always several moves ahead. But as the war drags on, cracks are showing. At a recent forum, a German journalist asked about fuel shortages. Putin's mask slipped, anger flashed, and he launched into a defensive tirade, blaming speculators and Western agents. The outburst revealed a leader under immense strain, disconnected from his people's reality. State media downplayed the moment, but it was a telling sign. The more the Kremlin insists all is well, the less believable it becomes. The war, once expected to be quick and victorious, is now a quagmire consuming the country. The siege of Moscow is also a siege of Putin's own making. The cracks in the fortress are spreading to the throne room itself.